Hi dear students, I am here to present the topic DNA structure and function. Sorry sir, sorry. Cut பண்ணிடுங்க. Hi dear students, I am here to present the topic mitochondria structure and function. Let us enter into the topic now. Before going into the structure and function of mitochondria, let us see a brief account of the cell. You know very well the cells. There are two types, that is the animal cell and then plant cell. A little bit differences between the animal cell and the plant cell. So this is the image of the typical animal cell, which it consists of a outer limiting membrane that is called as the plasma membrane, and inside the plasma membrane it is fully filled with the cytoplasm and then the fluid substance. Inside in the cytoplasm the other all cell organelles are present. Okay, so that is, you can see here, that is the centrioles and then ribosomes, and then that is the main function, that is like the office of the administrative office, that is the nucleus, and inside the nucleus you can see the nucleolus and the mitochondria and then cytoskeleton and then Golgi apparatus and then endoplasmic reticulum. It is, you know, that is the two types, smooth endoplasmic reticulum if the ribosomes are absent, and if the ribosomes are present it is called as a rough endoplasmic reticulum. So among all these cell organelles, that is our topic, that is the mitochondrion. It is a very unique cell organelle. It has its own special features and some of the important functions. Let us see one by one. So now first let us see about the discovery of the mitochondria, and here that is it is a little bit introduction, that is it is a double membrane bound structure. It may be rod shaped or bean shaped in structure, and it is it derives from the Greek word called the mitochondrion, that is a mito means a thread and the chondrion means a granule like, and it was first observed by the Richard Altman, and then it was later coined the term mitochondria by the Benda, called Benda, and it produces, what is the important main unique feature means, that is they produce enzymes for all the metabolic conservation in our body, and then that is it is also responsible for the converting food molecules and oxygen into a energy rich molecule called as the adenosine triphosphate, and these ATP molecules, that is the adenosine triphosphate is the energy rich molecules for our survival. So this is the image of the Altman and then Benda. And here that is why it is called as a powerhouse of the cell. Why it is it has also many special names called as we can call it as a mighty mitochondria, and then energy house and a tiny power plant, and then powerhouse of the cell. So it has here that is special names, and among all the cell organelles, because of unique features and that is autonomy, organization and other special functions, it attracts most of the scientists to discover it more. So here that is the mitochondria, they are the responsible for the conversion of the nutrients what we are eating, that is whatever may be whatever the diet and the food we are eating. So it combines that food and the oxygen we breathe, and then it transfers that into the energy rich molecule, that is the adenosine triphosphate, that is called as the cellular respiration, and so it is called as the aerobic respiration because it happens in the presence of the oxygen, and then the cell respiration involves three main steps, that is glycolysis, which takes place outside the mitochondria, and the next one, that is the Krebs cycle, which takes place inside the mitochondria, and then electron transport system. Let us see one by one. So before that, we have to know about the origin of the mitochondria because of its special features, and there are so many theories regarding about the origin of the mitochondria, but the special theory, it is called as a endosymbiosis. You know, that is a symbiosis means that is the relation between the mutual relationship between the two living organisms. So likewise, what the scientists they are saying means that is before that the mitochondria, it might be a prokaryote, and during the evolution of the living organisms, these that is the eukaryote engulf the mitochondria and as a prokaryote, but that is a mitochondria, it that is the there is a symbiotic relationship between the eukaryote and the mitochondria, because the eukaryote cell didn't digest the mitochondria, it just accepts that is one of the cell organelles. So that theory, it is called as the endosymbiosis, and it was given by Ivan. So this image that is it about the endosymbiosis, and you can see here that is the primitive heterotrophic eukaryote, and this is the autotrophic prokaryote. Now it is called as a mitochondria, and then the eukaryote engulfs or swallows or eats this prokaryote, but that is didn't digest this prokaryote, and then eukaryote keeps the bacterium as the symbiont, and this now the both they are, it is called as the typical cell. So that the symbiont loses many genes and becomes a mitochondria. So this theory, it is called as the endosymbiotic origin of the mitochondria, which was mostly accepted by all the scientists. Now let us see about the morphology. That is, morphology means structure of the mitochondria. And see here the size, it is 0.05 to 1 micrometer in diameter, and the length 1 to 10 micrometer long, and the shape, it may be varies according to the cells in the body. So it may be bean shaped or rod shaped or circular or oval shape. A number, it depends upon the type and the size of the function, because the mitochondria, it is not similar in all the in the same individual. It may be, the number may be vary according to the functional activity of the cell. And then for example, an average liver cell contain about 1500 number of the mitochondria, and you can see this is the clear image of the mitochondria. This is the length, and this is the diameter, and this membrane, it is called as the outer limiting membrane. You can see one by one coming in the coming slides. So the outer limiting membrane, it is a double bound cell organelles, that is not like other the cell organelle. It consists of the two membranes, and this is the inner membrane, and here that is the in between the outer membrane and the inner membrane, there is a space is present, that is called as the perimitochondrial space, or it is also called as the outer chamber. And the inner membrane, it enfolds, it gives many more finger like projections. That projection, they are called as the cristae, and inside the cristae, it is the inner chamber, it is also called as the matrix, which is filled with the jelly like substance, and inside in the matrix you can see the DNA and ATP synthase particles, and then many more granules, and then other enzymes and the other substances are present. So this is also come to the detailed structure of the mitochondria. So it consists of, I have already told you, that is a outer and then inner membrane, and then it is made up of the phospholipid bilayers and the proteins. So because these two membranes, they are not performing the same function or in the chemical composition, the two membranes are different in all the natures. So because of these different nature, you can give 5 distinct parts to the mitochondria. First one, the outer mitochondrial membrane, inner mitochondrial space or perimitochondrial space, and then inner mitochondrial membrane, and then the cristae, which is found with the enfoldings of the inner membrane, and the matrix, which is the space within the inner membrane, and then that is and that is if the mitochondria that is stripped off the outer membrane, then that is called as the mitoplast. And so in this image you can see everything clear here. That is the outer membrane. In the outer membrane many that is a special type of porins are present called as the porine. Okay, so the porine protein it is present, and that is the inner membrane space or intracrystal space, and then peripheral space it is called as. And you can see that is inner membrane, and this finger like foldings are called as the crista. And in the matrix you can see ribosome, matrix, granules, a special type you can see later, mitochondrial DNA, and then inner boundary membrane. Okay. So now let us see in detail each and every distinct part of the mitochondria. So this one, outer membrane, it is a simple, you can see here, this is the structure of the outer membrane, and that is I told you that the special protein is present, it is called as the porine, and this is the extracellular. So that the porine it allows the that is the entrance from the cytoplasm, that is the hydrogen and then water molecules and oxygen molecules and all other molecules freely to enter into the mitochondria. And here that is it is also the and here that is this is the inner membrane, and this is the intracellular, that is the outer membrane. So but the porine present in the inner membrane, it is a permeable, that is semi permeable membrane. It won't it doesn't allow all the molecules to enter into the inner chamber. It only allowed the limited number of the molecules only. And then this is about the inner membrane. So it is freely permeable only to the oxygen, carbon dioxide, and then hydrogen, not to the other thing. And here that is it contains the proteins, and also that is enzymes which perform in the oxidative phosphorylation and ATP synthase and transport protein, protein import machinery, mitochondrial fusion and fission protein. And here that is they are allowing the exchange of the anions between the cytosol, and the cytosol means cytoplasm, and the mitochondria. So it is very selective in nature, and not like that the outer membrane. It allows only the limiting member that is amount of the molecules to enter into the mitochondria. And here that is contain with the three types of the functions. So it contains proteins. What are they means? That is the proteins, they perform the electron transport chain reactions and ATP synthase, which generate ATP energy rich molecules. They are called as the ATP. And then specific transport proteins that regulate metabolic passage into in and outside of the mitochondrial matrix. And here we have seen that is the inner membrane. It enfolds to give finger like projections. They are called as the cristae, like the villi like structure. And here and it is the cristae that is compartmentalize the inner chamber into many more numerous folds. They are called as the cristae. And because what is the main function of the cristae means, it increase the surface area to store more amount of the enzymes and ATP molecules and all other things. So the main function of the cristae, it is to increase the surface area. And here like the when you see the liver mitochondria, that is the surface area of the inner membrane, it is 5 times greater, 5-fold greater than the outer membrane. And so the ratio it is also varies depending upon the how much amount of that cell demand the ATP for its energy synthesis. And so here in this cristae you can see that small round bodies called as the F1 particles or oxysomes or ETP particles, electron transport particles are present. So here also you can see that is the inner membrane called as the small particles. The outer membrane also contains these particles, and then the inner membrane there carries the F1 particles. So this is the structure. In the cristae the F1 particles are present through which the electrons are involved in the electron transport system. So this is the detailed structure of these F1 particles. In the inner membrane, that is in the crista, these F1 particles are stalked particles. They have the stalk, but in the outer membrane these particles are present but without the stalk. They are called as the F0 particles. And so this is the F1 particle, this is the base of the F1 particle, this is called as a stalk or pedicel, and this is the head of the F1 particles. And so this is the this is also electronic image of these F1 particles. You can see here the clear structure. This is F0 and F1. So the next one, let us see about the matrix. The gel like a substance which is present inside the inner membrane, that is in the inner space, that is called as the matrix. So here that is totally 2/3 of the mitochondrial proteins that the enzymes are present in this matrix 1C, and here that is they contain the hundreds of enzymes and special mitochondrial ribosomes, and that very unique feature of the mitochondria, that is the mitochondrial DNA and then RNA and then ribosomes, they are present in this matrix only. And so these involve in the that is a citric Krebs that is a citric acid cycle, TCA cycle. And then next one, it is a gel like a consistency, dense and homogeneous, and it also contains all the enzymes and tRNA, fibrils and tubules. So what are the unique features? Here I want to convey you one thing, that is mitochondria. It only gives it only perform all the functions in our body. For examples, without mitochondria we cannot see, we cannot eat, we cannot speak, we cannot move, and we cannot walk, or we cannot run, and we cannot do any functions, because for all the regular function of our cell we need energy. Okay, so for this energy, only the mitochondria, it synthesizes the ATP molecules, that is the adenosine phosphate molecules. They are also, you know very well, they are also called as the energy molecules. So without these ATP molecules we cannot do anything. If the ATP molecules in any living organism or in any human being or anything, if it reduces up to a certain level, beyond a certain level we cannot survive, we have to die. So that much important, that is this mighty and then tiny cell organelle. And here that is the research, it is going on, because in more about the mitochondria, because of these special features, because that is it creates some of the diseases also. Let us see one by one. And so what are the another unique feature of the mitochondria? It is, so inside the mitochondria, because in the first slide we have seen so many cell organelles, isn't it? But none of the cell organelle it contains the mitochondria, but only the one cell, that is the cell organelle which contains that is the DNA. It is DNA, it is present only in the mitochondria. So that DNA, it is called as the mitochondrial DNA. So this is the very unique features, because with the help of this DNA, mitochondria can produce its own proteins, that is enzymes for all these cellular respiration and everything. And here, so that is that is a nucleus in a cell. The nucleus only contains the DNA, and the DNA it synthesizes the RNA. But only in the mitochondria the DNA it is present, and it can synthesize its own proteins whatever it wants. So that DNA it is called as the mitochondrial DNA. It is a very small circular double-stranded and closed DNA molecule. It can also do perform its replication, that it can produce its multiple copies by its own, and nearly 16,569 base pairs are present in mitochondria, and it is mostly remain attached to the inner mitochondrial membrane, and then it also involves in the cellular growth and multiplication. And then so the past and the one important thing, that is the mitochondria, it transmits from the mother to the offspring and not from the father to the offspring. So that is it also codes for the many proteins, that is it codes for 2 ribosomal RNAs and 22 tRNAs and 13 mitochondrial membrane proteins. It can undergo replication and duplication process. It is autonomous. What do you mean by autonomous? Autonomous means that is it need not to depend upon the nuclear DNA for its functions, because as it has its own DNA, it can perform any other functions whatever it involve in the cellular respiration. So that is called as the autonomy. And here that is the inheritance of the mitochondrial DNA. That is it is a maternal inheritance. What do you mean by maternal inheritance? Means that is the mitochondria, it always transmits from the mother to the offspring, because you know very well that is in the fertilization, the male, the sperm, it comes from the male, and the ovum, it comes from the female. So during the fertilization process, the sperm enters into the ovum of the female. So when it enters, only the nucleus of the that is sperm enters into the egg ovum and it fuses with the egg nucleus, and the mitochondria also may enter, but it may be dissolved. So only that is the mother DNA, mother mitochondria, it present in the fertilized zygote. So this mitochondrial DNA, it only inherits to whatever may be the son or the daughter. In all the living organisms, only the mother DNA. So many researches it's going on, that is what is the importance of the because some of the mother features and the characters and some of the diseases which are can be inherited from the mitochondria, the research it is going on. So this is this image that is one. Here you can see this is the father mitochondria and this is called as the mother mitochondria. The father here is saying that is take some mitochondria, but here my mother mitochondria saying no thank you, I have got my own, I don't want your mitochondria. So that is the offsprings which always carry the mother mitochondria only, and this is the image of the mitochondrial DNA, and you can see here that is the proteins, the gene which code for the ribosomal RNA, and then complex 1, complex 3 and complex 4, and this is for the tRNAs, and the gene codes for the tRNA, and this white it denotes the non-coding regions. So that is a mitochondria. It involves in the glycolysis and the citric acid cycle, the main function, and also for the heat production and storage of the more calcium ions, and also that is mitochondria. It always present in the greater amount where there is a lot of energy production, like the heart, like the muscle, and like the brain, and so it present in the cellular organelle which perform in the higher energy production. Aerobic respiration, glycolic acid, electron transport system, and then mitochondrial DNA and synthesis, energy duplication. So the outer membrane, the function of the outer membrane, it is the oxidation of the epinephrine and degradation of the tryptophan, and then elongation of the fatty acid. And the inner membrane, the main thing, oxidative phosphorylation, and in the matrix the Krebs cycle, beta oxidation, detoxification of ammonia in the urea cycle, and storage of the calcium ions. So more amount of the, when you see the osteoblast cells, that is the bone cells, the mitochondria which are present in this type of cells, they store a large amount of the calcium and then phosphate. They store the large amount of the calcium and it just squeezes out this calcium when there is a need of a large amount of the calcium. And here you can see the again a very good image which shows the everything about the function of the outer mitochondria, inner mitochondria, and then perimitochondrial space, and then matrix, and then crista, and this is the crista space, and here that is site of the ATP primary particles, and then that is the structure of the F1 particles. So here, that is in short we can say that is when we eat anything that is a glucose, whatever, maybe idli or dosa or any pizza or whatever we eat, that is it consists of the glucose and it combined with the oxygen what we breathe, and it converts into the carbon dioxide, water, and then energy. Whatever we want to do perform, that is running, eating, speaking, and watching or TV or anything, we need energy. So the energy, it is prepared only by the ATP molecules. These ATP molecules, they synthesize in the mitochondria. And here, okay, and this is the chemical structure of this glucose, oxygen, and carbon dioxide, and water, and then ATP molecules. And here this image clearly shows that is during the main thing, what are the, that is the metabolism, energy metabolism, what carries in the mitochondria is glycolysis. That glycolysis, it takes place in the cytoplasm, and that is during the glycolysis, the glucose is converted into the pyruvate. So during this conversion, 2 ATP molecules are synthesized. Okay, so now this pyruvate, it enters into the mitochondria, that is through the outer membrane and then to the inner membrane. So here it is converted into the acetyl coenzyme A, and it enters into the Krebs cycle, that is the tricarboxylic acid cycle or citric acid cycle, and at last, so at the end of the Krebs cycle, it releases 2 ATP molecules, and these then it enters into the electrons, enters into the electron transport chain. So at times 34 ATP molecules are produced. So at last, in the one molecule of the glucose, it gives the, that is during this cycle, it gives 38 molecules of the ATP. And so this cycle, so it shows in the clear image that the glucose enters in the glycolysis. This is the plasma membrane of the cell, and here the mitochondria, it is present, and the glucose that is outside the mitochondria in the cytosol or the cytoplasm, it is converted into the pyruvate, and during the it is also very important, that is NAD, it is converted into NADH, and then again during that is the electrons are transported, and this pyruvate enters into the mitochondria, and it converted during it NADH is converted NADH, that is oxidation, carbon dioxide released, and TCA cycle it happens. So at last that is ATP molecules are synthesized. And here, that is this is another one clear image, that is what happened in the cytoplasm and mitochondrial matrix and then inner mitochondrial membrane. So here in the cytoplasm, the glucose is converted into glucose 6-phosphate, that is glycolysis, and pyruvate. So this pyruvate due to the oxidation, and it is converted into the acetyl coenzyme A and enter into the mitochondrial matrix. If it fails to, means then it is converted into the lactate. And so here 2 ATP molecules synthesize, and it enters into the Krebs cycle, and here 2 ATP molecules and 3 NADH molecules and 1 FADH2 molecules, and here that is water is converted into the coenzyme A, and here inside the mitochondrial matrix, electron transport chain system it happens, and at last 32 ATP molecules, and here due to the transfer of the electrons, the NADH, it is oxidized. So this is the image of the electron transport chain, and the same thing, that is you can transfer of the electrons from the NADH, and in the for this electron transport chain, the important, that is cytochromes which are also present in the mitochondria, that is NADH dehydrogenase, cytochrome B-C complex, and cytochrome C oxidase complex, they are also involved. So due to the transfer of the electrons from the one molecule to the another one, and here that is hydrogen molecule plus a half oxygen molecule, it is converted into the water, and it is synthesized. During every chain, that is ATP molecule is synthesized. So here that is the intermembrane space and then inner mitochondrial membrane, where this electron transport system it happens. And here that this is also, you can see here citric acid cycle, where it how it happens here. So that is I told you, that is one more important research is going on about the mitochondrial diseases. Okay, so not only the due to the dysfunction of the other cell organelle or other anything in our body, the mitochondria, it also causes some of the major diseases in our body. For that is it all because for all these organs from our head to the toe, for the normal function functioning of the cell, for the normal functioning of our body, we need the energy. Without energy we cannot survive. So and also not only that, is each and every organ, they need the energy. For example, if we take a heart, means to the pumping of the heart, it also needs the energy for the circulation of the blood, and the liver also like that, and for the digestion, so on, for the eye. So each and every organ, they need energy. So if that is a skeletal if the mitochondria in the skeletal muscle, it is maybe malfunction or any disease, means it leads to the weakness, fatigue, myopathy, and muscular dystrophy, and neuropathy also. If the heart, if it is not the function, the mitochondria which is present in the heart, if it is not functioning properly, if it weakens, means that is conduction disorder and Parkinson disease, and all it happens. And the eye also optic neuropathy and ophthalmia and retinopathy, and the liver also hepatopathy, and the kidney also, and pancreas, and that is a diabetic mellitus, sugar we are saying, no, diabetic patients, and the blood also, that is the Pearson syndrome, and the inner ear, and the digestive colon, and the nuclear DNA, mitochondrial DNA. So for all, and the brain, that is for each and every function, normal function, that is the mitochondria in all the cell organelles, it should be performed regularly, or otherwise it leads to so many diseases in our body. So these diseases occur due to the failure of the mitochondria, and primarily it occurs in the children also. And so the muscle weakness, poor growth, respiratory illness, and the genetic disorders, or everything. So up to this, here I want to just give the summary. In this lecture, we studied about the discovery and then of mitochondria, and then origin of the mitochondria, and then what are the structure, that is the morphology of the mitochondria, and then function of the mitochondria, and what is the importance of the mitochondria from which is inherited from the mother to the offspring, and then last one, what are the diseases related to the mitochondria. And here that is a very attractive slide, that is because the mitochondria, as it transfers from the mother, this mighty mitochondria of the kid, it says thanks mom. Now I say thank you to everyone. Thank you.